Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to the Church of Doom. I am Landon, Father Doom Gus, your dungeon daddy, your prophet of all things RPG related, here to get you not only into this awesome hobby, but freaking excited about it. I want you to have a good time. There is enough gloom and doom in the world in general. There's enough doom and gloom in the hobby in general. It seems like all people, and I am guilty of this too, not to be too much of a soapboxer here, but so much of our creative and collective energy seems to go into talking about what don't we like about this hobby? What don't we like about Wizards of the Coast? Why is the hobby dead? Why is D&D dying? Blah, 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 right? But that is not why we are gathered here today. We're gathered here today to do something much cooler. We are going to be talking about Daggerheart, and more specifically, we'll be talking about Darrington Press, right? Because I'm sure you have probably all seen the news that Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, the lead creative lead and rules designer, basically those two big head honchos from Wizards of the Coast, have now quickly made their way over to join the Darrington Heart Press team. Very, very cool stuff, and it had me just thinking, you know what? There's a lot of other cool things I would love to see from Darrington Press. Like, if they are going to be a driving force in the hobby, if they're going to be a voice for the people, right? A creative team that we kind of want to get behind and support, what are some of the things that I would hope to see from them that would really continue to get more buy-in from me? So I want this to be a very collaborative conversation. Anybody, if you're watching the VOD, may Vecna's gaze fall upon you. Appreciate you coming back to watch us. But if you're live with us, which I see Noble Knight is in the chat. Good day, Noble Knight. I want to hear lots and lots of opinions from you all, because frankly, like, Darrington Press is not going to go very far if we as a community don't help them go very far, right? We need to be enthusiastic about it. I don't want to be passive about this sort of thing. I want to be really involved, and I want to be excited for them and kind of putting out as much of a voice into the hobby ether as I can, so that maybe some of this resonates with some people on that team. Who knows? But anyways, that's what we're going to be doing here today. Quick couple announcements, though, before we jump into things. You guys probably already know what some of this is going to be, right? The Wretched Tropics, my upcoming Kickstarter, my zine for a softcover RPG setting book that we developed together on stream with the help of our members of this RPG congregation, is coming out very soon. It's got lore on the Wretched Tropics themselves, which, by the way, it is not a misspelling. I get that question pretty often right now. It is an intention. I guess it is a misspelling, but it's intentional. It's meant to be like wretched, as in like you retch things up, because the whole jungle is like a bubbling, sulfuric, poisonous sort of jungle vibe. So that's why it's spelled that way, right? I need to put that in the FAQ of the project. But it's got your hex crawl map. It's got a rundown of all the areas. It's got human-made art for all of these different areas. It's pretty freaking cool. It is 24 pages right now. We got 21 followers. Woo! Very excited about that. I put something like this up on my story last week on Instagram, where I was like, you know what? There are 17 people following this project, and in the grand scheme of things, and in like the media frenzy that exists today, like 17 people or 21 people even might not seem like a lot, but I'm grateful for it. Like, that's 21 more people following my project than I think a lot of other people. Like, there are plenty of other people out there who are doing amazing things that don't get seen at all and don't get any support. And so even just having 21 people feels really good. It's cool. I think it's exciting, especially like, it is the era of schlop. You just can throw anything up there with AI text and AI images, whatever, just kind of churn it out. This is a labor of love. And like, not only was that a month of just like very tough, like to do all of this in a month was pretty challenging for me. Like, it might not be for others, but for me, it was. That's a lot of writing and a lot of art to have made. And I made this by hand, printed it out on my home printer. I stapled in a bookmark, a ribbon bookmark, and that's what you're going to get too. You'll get something that I actually made, and I'm really proud of. So I've got the link to that in the chat. Should also be pinned at the top of the description. You can go follow that project. I'd love to bump it up to even 22. That'd be pretty cool. Other announcements. actually, that might be it, honestly. You guys already know about my Patreon. You know about my start playing games and things like that. So I won't plug it here. Really just wanted to keep pushing this project because it's coming out soon. Anyways, with those projects, or with that announcement out of the way, let's kind of jump into our conversation here, right? And also, Colin Lee, good to see you in the chat. Howdy, howdy. Here's kind of, I've got a little D6 list of things I've put together on what I would like to see from Darrington Press. And just in case you're like not super familiar, or just to get us sort of all on the same page here about what exactly is Darrington Press, like, so you've got Critical Role, right? The streamers, we've got Matt and his crew. They're putting out their live stream. They're playing D&D. They blew up on the scene. You know, it's crazy, right? That's like the company. Darrington Press is, I believe, a sub-company within the Critical Role umbrella. That is their publishing company. They are the folks who put out Daggerheart, but they also, like, if you go to their shop, they've done, hold on, we'll go to the US shop. They've done a couple other games too. Like, they've got, well, obviously they've got tons of merch for, you know, clothing lines and dice sets and things like that. But they also put out, like, games that I've never heard of, like Last Gasp, which, like, just from that little image over here on the right side, like, it looks like a pretty intense game, like a legit board game. They did Solar Gardens. They've got the campaign setting guide for Tal'Dorei, right? So this is their publishing company that is putting out games and different resources like that. So we're not talking about necessarily today, like, ooh, what would make like Critical Role streams better? What do I want to see in campaign 4 from Critical Role? That's not necessarily what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is what would we like to see from Darrington Press, the publishing company, that would make them a company that we'd be really excited to support. Unlike, maybe, you might say, Wizards of the Coast, where it's like no one really wants to support them. They don't do anything that seems to get a lot of buy-in. And the first thing I had on my list that would make, I called it my Darrington Press Dreams list. I should have called it my Hopes list. That would have been better with hopes and fears. But the very first thing I put down was, it would be really, really cool if they put out their own version of an Adventurers League or a Pathfinder Society. And Adventurers League is like, and to be fair, I haven't super played in a lot of these, but the concept has always seemed really interesting to me and cool. Adventurers League is like, every month or so, I think they put out like an adventure. And it's sort of meant to be a, no matter what store you're going to that's associated with D&D and like a member of their, like a partnered store or whatever, or any group, as long as you're all playing in the Adventures League, you're sort of all playing the same adventure, and you can kind of cross into different groups whenever you need or go to cons and things like that. And it's the same with the Pathfinder Society, except that's for, obviously, Pathfinder, that RPG. And I just thought that is something I feel like Darrington Press could do a really good job with. Putting out some sort of, like, I don't know if I necessarily would want it to be a, hey, here is this like really strict campaign progression and you're like, everybody's sort of playing the same little one-shot session by session to play the same big story. I don't necessarily think I would want that, because that, like, I'm not interested in necessarily telling the same story that everybody else is playing. But what I think they could easily do that sort of fits into the same realm of an Adventures League or a Pathfinder Society is every other week, here's a new encounter, or here's a series of encounters that you can sort of play through in a one-shot. Even if it was just a one-shot, I guess it literally could just be every 2 weeks, here's a new one-shot that uses the Daggerheart prep system. It's got the pawns you need for it. It's got pre-made character sheets, and each set of characters is unique and different kind of to fit into the story. I feel like that would be so cool and so useful for so many people out there who want to GM or want to run Daggerheart, but don't necessarily have the time or the resources or the skills yet to prep their own stuff. Just continuously putting out new fun things to play, I think would be great for them. It would get more people playing the game. It would also give the community and people like me an abundance of things to talk about when it comes to Daggerheart. Like, let's take a look at the newest one-shot from this team, and how are they using their mechanics in an interesting way. Maybe each one has like some new ways to use hope and fear for each adventure. I don't know. I just think that would be really, really fun. And I don't want to just like breeze through my D6 list here. So after each sort of idea, I want to kind of throw it back to the chat and see what you all think. Would you be interested in something like that? A calendared series of published one-shots or adventures? Is that something you would use? Or does that not really interest you? To me, it seems like it's got a lot of potential. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it too, like a published like 8-part, you could even kind of copy the Age of Umbra model, where they instead of putting out a huge campaign or something that lasts a really long time, they kind of do these little like 4 to 8 episode arcs, and they kind of give you enough encounters to sort of get you through that story and set you up in a place where then you could take the story wherever you want. Do you think that'd be cool? Tessa, oh, what's up, Tessa? Good to see you in the chat. Saying most definitely. Yeah, Tessa, have you ever done like an Adventurers League or a Pathfinder Society? Because normally that sort of thing is played through your friendly local game store. And I know of at least 2 shops near me. There's Game Night Games and then there's Oasis Games here in Salt Lake City. They have an Adventurers League and they seem to have a decent amount of people signed up. But I have not personally gone and done like an Adventurers League game. Mostly because, honestly, like I just wasn't interested in the 5e. Like, I did not want to go play 5e with strangers because my approach to 5e is fueled by index card RPG for Moonhammer, and not to be too much, it's very easy, I think, for a lot of voice to be like, I have always loved to run D&D the way that Daggerheart runs it, so this is perfect. Like, and it's like, like, did you really? Like, were we all thinking Daggerheart, and then suddenly the system came out like, wow, how convenient, you know what I mean? But like, there are certainly aspects of Daggerheart that I very much enjoy and try to model at my own table that I find that the 5e sort of culture at large doesn't tend to adopt. So I was like, it's kind of felt riskier to go play with a bunch of strangers when it comes to 5e. But a Daggerheart group who's like built on this culture that Critical Role has sort of fostered and built around them, like, I don't have as many reservations about going and joining a random group of players for something like this. What's up, Kevin K? Good morning. Good to see you in the chat. If you're just jumping in here, we're talking about, obviously, what are the things that we would love to see from Darrington Press that would make them an awesome company we want to support. But specifically right now, I pitched the first idea of an Adventurers League, a Pathfinder Society, some sort of continual publishing of small playable content for their system would be really, really cool. Tessa said, no, I've never done something like Adventurers League, but I'm running and getting started with Daggerheart adventuring right now. Oh, sweet. You're running, you're getting started. Oh my goodness. I'm running the Getting Started Daggerheart adventure. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, the pre-published adventure. It's something to do with like frog folk bandits ambush you and you're like escorting somebody, I believe. We should maybe review that starting adventure just like we did with the that free D&D adventure they put out. Borderlands Quest Goblin Trouble. We gave it a 2 out of 5. It was not the best adventure. But are you running that tonight, Tessa? Or is this like coming up this weekend or something? Because either way, very, very cool. Oh, and Tessa also said, to be honest, this is my first ever module I've run. You've never run modules before. Dang. How long have you been playing RPGs? Have you been like have you just been doing homebrew D&D 5e for like a few years and now you're trying out something pre-published? Because that'd be kind of cool. Ooh, yeah, Tessa, you'd want to see something like that? Kind of going through the... Oh, why is my mic is so far away? I am sorry about that. If I was coming through really quiet, sorry about that. You started it yesterday. Started the pre-written adventure from them. Cool. I have not personally run it yet, but what's your feedback? Like, do you feel like it's a well-written module? And because if you think it is, if you're finding it useful to run, then that would give me more faith that, yeah, like Darrington Press has the resources and the skills to put out something similar to that at least once a month, right? Just a little something, a little adventure to get your group started and playing, I think could be really, really cool. Kevin K said, can confirm our Wednesday campaign has a great blend of 5e mechanics and a narrative-focused feel like Daggerheart. I'd also love your thoughts on the quick start adventure for Daggerheart 2. Okay, yeah. You know what? I'm going to make a note here. We need to review Daggerheart quick start adventure. That's something we'll do. Maybe we'll try and maybe even get it in this week. Because I have a couple of scheduled streams up on the YouTube page right now of things I wanted to do. But that's certainly one we need to get to. That would be kind of crazy to not review that with how excited I am about Daggerheart. And Tessa said she's been playing homebrew for 5 to 6 years. I used to be a Forever DM. Damn, to go from a homebrew GM to running a module or a pre-written adventure, probably got to be kind of a bit of a whiplash experience. And yeah, you know what? I might have to swap one of my streams out this week with reviewing the Quick Start Adventure, because we had quite a few people tune in and watch our review of Goblin Trouble, and people seem to get some value out of it. I don't see any reason why we can't do the same thing this week for the Daggerheart Adventure. What's up, G. Joe Moore? Good to see you in the chat. Good to see him. All right. Well, it seems like from talking to Tessa and Kevin, yeah, an Adventurers League or a Pathfinder Society, but for Daggerheart, what would they call that? Because Pathfinder Society, like, that's an actual guild that like exists within the universe that the Pathfinder game is set in. Adventurers League isn't as, would that be meta? Because Adventurers League doesn't exist in the Forgotten Realms setting. It's like it's a meta term that the players and the GM sort of use. Daggerheart Society, I guess. They could just go something like that. Whatever it would be called, I think would be really cool, and I would love to see it from the Darrington Press team. I think the more material they put out to get people playing their game, the better, especially if it's free. And if they were, like, if I were doing this, I would maybe once a year, you bundle it all into a hardcover or softcover book, and there you go. You sell that. It's all available for free, but you can get the nice hardcover book with all of those free adventures for, I don't know, $30 or something. I think that would be really, really cool. Oh, real quick before we move on to my second point of what I would love to see from Darrington Press, Tessa said, it might just be me, but it feels a bit linear, but probably that's just modules, though they explain the mechanics really well, also for the DM. I feel like the encounters aren't straightforward. Oh, okay, now I'm very excited to read through it, because linear is, it's unavoidable, and I kind of feel like if you sat down and looked at any GM's prep, you'd be like, well, this feels a little linear. You feel like you kind of have everything already planned out to a certain degree, right? I think it's very easy to look at somebody else's published or written material and be like, wow, railroad much? I would never, right? But I do think I remember from a brief skim of the Quick Start Adventure, I did kind of get that vibe a little bit, but a more thorough deep dive will give us a good view of it. Anyways, Tessa, thanks for your feedback on that, and good luck running that quick start for your group. I am excited to hear more about it from you in the future when you tune back in. All right, like I said, I got a D6 list of Darrington Press dreams. Number 2 was a character sheet manager. I feel, and maybe this isn't something that is within the wheelhouse of Darrington Press specifically. I would think it would be, though, if they're the ones putting out Daggerheart. But they need a tool. They need something that makes it as easy to run online Daggerheart as it is to sort of run online D&D with D&D Beyond. Now, granted, your character sheets are not as complex with Daggerheart as they are for, say, 5e or Pathfinder, where you've got like so many different abilities and so many different little areas you're plugging things into. Daggerheart does make that simpler already by putting some of that information is just built into the sheet or baked into the sheet. Some of it also has like, they've got the cards, obviously, which makes a lot of it easier. Hold on, let me make myself bigger. I don't necessarily need to have the full screen there. But they've got the cards. They've got a simpler character sheet to begin with. But at the same time, there's a lot of things there's like the hope. You're keeping track of your hope. You're keeping track of your armor. You're keeping track of your hit points. You're keeping track of your stress. Like, those are just 4 things right there that you've got. Supposed to have a lot of tokens on your sheet. They need something online that can do that. Now, I know that they have something with Demiplane, which actually, let me pull that up real quick so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But to be honest, and hopefully you kind of see the similar vibe when I go to here, but like, I checked out Demiplane, Daggerheart, Nexus, whatever this website is, exactly where you can build your character sheets. And it's like, it's fun. I guess I had started a fake character sheet. It sort of does exist, right? Like, clearly this is here to build a character sheet. But I guess frankly, if I'm just being honest, I don't love that it's through like this weird Nexus platform that does a bunch of other games. And like, I feel like this is kind of straightforward enough that you could do something simple on the like Darrington Press or Daggerheart website. And then you can have like your private page with your players, and then the GM can easily go in and like look at the character information and keep track of it. Like, I think what I'm really saying is I don't even just necessarily want like a character sheet manager from Darrington Press, but I would love to see like kind of a whole online sweet, like a very simple VTT. If you look at someone like Owlbear Rodeo is such a simple VTT. It's so simple. Very bare minimum mechanics. Like, it's got your grid, it's got a little laser pointer, you can go in and draw with a marker, and it's a lot of just drag and drop PNGs onto the scene and moving them around like tokens. They don't go crazy with the features, like things like Roll20 and some others that have a little bit too much to work with. But if Staggerheart could come out with something where it's like, here's our hyper simple theater of the mind sort of encouraging VTT, and your character sheets are linked to it, and it's rolling your hope and die fear for you, and it's tracking things all within the Daggerheart website or whatever. Like, oh, I would love that. Maybe that's a big thing to ask from a publishing company, but like I said, this is my Daggerheart hopes list, so or my dreams list. I would love to see something like that from them, to just make it as easy and focused to play Daggerheart as it is to play something like D&D with D&D Beyond. Because the Nexus page just kind of, like, it almost feels like Daggerheart is, like, not an afterthought, but because Nexus is built for, like, so many different games, I kind of come on here and I feel like, is this really worth it? Like, am I going to get a subscription for something that's, like, plugging... What is this game? Multiverse role-playing game and like Vampire. It's like, I don't play any of those other games. I just want something for Daggerheart, and I don't want to feel like I'm paying money to get features for things I'll never use. I would rather pay maybe even a little bit more for something super focused on Daggerheart. That's my opinion. And also on this note, like, Critical Role has always been great about like fan art showcasing. Like, if you go to their blog on the Critical Role website, they like routinely, like every week or so, have a post of like, here's all the cool fan art that's been out there. If they had their own like version of Owlbear Rodeo, then I think it would be really cool if people like contributed artwork and contributed their maps and their character pawns and monster minis and things like that to build a catalog that you could pull from, even maybe for free. Would be, I mean, that would be crazy. But like, imagine if you went on to the Daggerheart VTT, and anytime you needed an asset for something, you could just go to their like community art file, and you could just pull from some of your favorite things on there and use them for free to build out your scene or use little tokens. And then if you were an artist, maybe even on like this Daggerheart VTT, you could sell packs. I mean, at this point, we're getting a little crazy with it. It's becoming Roll20 in its entirety, but I feel like there's something there. Critical Role has been a voice for artists for a long time. They really respect their artists. Seems like a cool way to make them even more of like a focal point, right? Put them right at the forefront. Hey, these are the artists we really like, and you can use their stuff to run your sessions for free on this little VTT. I think that'd be awesome. What do we think about that, though? Tessa asked how long you plan on streaming today. I don't know, maybe like an hour, if that. I don't think this will be like a crazy long conversation. But it was just something that was on my mind, so I wanted to jump on and talk about with you all. And you gotta head out. See you, Tessa. But yeah, what do we think? Like, I'd also be curious of everybody in the chat. Well, maybe I'll even run a poll right now. I've been curious about this. My RPG sessions are they in person or are they online? And this is not Daggerheart specific. Like, whatever you're playing right now. If you're playing 5e, like most of my games are still 5e right now. But like, how many of you are playing online compared to in person? All of my games are online right now. All of them. Well, actually, I have one Daggerheart game that I'm going to be a player in coming up. That'll be in person. But that'll be the first time I've played an in-session game of D&D in, honestly, like, months. It's been so online. That's immediately where my mind just goes. Of, like, what's the simplest VTT? Is there a good character creation system to manage it? All that sort of stuff. Oh, see, like, okay, while you guys are voting in that, look, here's an example of what I'm talking about with Demiplane. It's like, this is the Cosmere Nexus RPG that... What's that? Brandon Sanderson's like big crazy Kickstarter exploded with. It's like, that's cool, but I don't really play Cosmere Nexus. I'm interested in Daggerheart, so help me run a really cool Daggerheart session. G. Joel Moore, you're all in person with your games. Dang, I wish I miss playing so much in person. It is a good time. I've become so accustomed to online that I kind of would be curious to see how, like, if I just suddenly went back to the table, what has changed drastically in my GMing style from being so focused on online that would feel maybe clunky at the table. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. Maybe an interesting topic for a future video. Anyways, it's like maybe that second dream of mine for a Daggerheart VTT sort of focus or a character creator. Maybe that's just a me thing, but we'll move on to the third one, right? Let's see what we can get out of the chat, what your thoughts are on this one. So, third one. They need a better blog. Darrington Press, for having press in the name, does not have a super impressive blog. I don't even get to that. Oh, right here. So you go to the blog. They've got June 16th is obviously the article, like that was yesterday. The article that sort of is prompting so many RPG dungeon tubers or whatever online to be talking about this stuff, like Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, join them. And then June 13th, they have the new translations for Daggerheart are on the way. So, okay, you're going to get Daggerheart in different languages. Then they talk about Daggerheart being sold out. Daggerheart is officially here, but that was way back in May 20th. Like, that's not like, I would love to, and then May 12th, April 30th, like, I kind of feel like they need a much more frequent posting schedule for their blog. Part of this is me just sort of laughing at the name of, like, Darrington Press sounds like a newspaper, and I think they could do that. I think it'd be really fun if they even had like more of a newspapery sort of vibe to their blog. But I talk about it all the time. If you're a longtime fan of Warhammer 40K and Games Workshop, you'll know that the Warhammer community page, which actually, we should just go to that real quick. This is the Warhammer community page. They have a new blog, if not more, I swear, like every single day. And what's really cool about theirs is because they're a miniature company, so much of their posts are like looking at the miniatures in detail or like kind of hinting at what's coming up ahead and the new miniature releases they have and the new campaign narrative books that they've got. Like there's a million things that they can talk about in great detail. And they've got so many factions that they can go into detail on what they're about. I really feel like Darrington Press could do something pretty comparable. And it doesn't have to be just product updates. In fact, I would hate it if like the whole blog from Darrington Press was just product updates, which is kind of what it is right now. Like the past, there's Daggerheart coming soon. Daggerheart is going to be at the Games Expo. Daggerheart is officially here. Daggerheart is sold out. Like, that's fine. Those things are useful to get. But I also I would love to have a blog post that's like a get to know Chris Perkins, get to know Jeremy Crawford on a more personal level. Because I don't know anything about these guys other than that they're coming over from Wizards of the Coast and that they worked on 5e from basically, I think they were a part of it from launch to now the new 5.5. But just put up a little FAQ of what's their favorite food? What's their favorite monster? What's their favorite game besides Dungeons and Dragons? What did they do as a kid growing up? What were their hobbies? I would love a post like that. I would love a post that kind of interviews the other members of the Darrington Press team. Who are the people behind the scenes that we would otherwise never see or hear from? What kind of got them into D&D? What has them excited about Darrington Press or Daggerheart? What are their homebrew settings that they're working on, right? I feel like you have endless potential to do a really, really cool blog that is very much about value adding. And they're not really doing that, which I don't understand necessarily why. I think that they could also, what I talked about in my first point of some sort of adventurers league or a Pathfinder Society, if they didn't want to do something as structured and organized as that, although I think they should, if they didn't, every other, once a week, one of their publishing days could be, here's a new little encounter. Doesn't even have to be a one-shot. Here's just some cool encounters with a new monster stat block. Or that would be a cool one. Every Monday, you get a new monster stat block, and the art is used from the community. And they bring a bunch, they announce the week prior, hey, we're gonna do a monster stat block for a multi-headed parrot bird monster. My mind is thinking jungles because of, hey, plug in the rich tropics. And then the next week when they publish that, all the art they've got submitted, they show that off too. And now as a GM, you not only have the new stat block, but you have a bunch of different cool iterations of it with artwork that you can use on your VTT. See, and a lot of my dreams about Darrington Press are sort of interconnected in that way. But I would be really curious to see from you or hear from everybody in the chat with me today, what are some things that would be interesting on a blog? And I know that might seem like a boring question, and also in a world right now where like so much of our media is video driven, but video driven content takes a lot more work, I think, than written. And I think that there's space to be claimed. There's real estate to be claimed for a really, really strong blog, like an RPG blog that just dominates the scene. Because I feel like that's what Warhammer community page does. Like there are actually several other blogs too that are big in the 40K wargaming scene. And I don't really know of a lot of blogs that are as big in the RPG scene. I would say Sly Flourish, the Lazy GM, he's up there for sure. But he's just a one-man show as far as I'm aware. Kind of like myself, like there's only so much you can do before you eventually hit some burnout and kind of have some missteps or whatever. But they've got this whole team. They can do so many cool things. Kevin K agrees a Monster Monday is a great idea. G. Joel Moore, what were we saying here? Makes such a difference in my opinion. I like the gathering and social aspects too. Oh, you're talking about playing in person. Yeah, plus drinking alone in front of a computer usually is frowned upon. Yeah, that's so funny, G. Joel. That's so true. I did a week ago or so, I was sitting down to run one of my sessions and I hadn't played in person in so long. And one thing that I liked about doing in person with my dad's group is we would start every night with a shot. And it was always a whiskey shot, which I hated. But I liked it. Even though I don't like whiskey, it was fun to get to do the little cheers. And I was sitting down in my basement office room, and I was like, I've got some leftover liquor from the wedding. I'm going to just pour myself a shot. And woo, I took the shot, and then I go up out at the mid-session break, and I give Mother Doom just a little smooch, and she's like, have you been drinking? I was like, oh, yeah, I just had a little shot before my game. And it's like, the vibes were very weird or different when it's like, you're down in your basement alone having a shot versus you're down in a basement with a bunch of friends in person having a shot. And I was like, oh, I swear it's not a problem. But that's so funny, Gijo Moore, that I'm in the exact same boat as you. Anywho, does anybody else have thoughts or input or ideas about what would make a really great blog, especially from an RPG publisher? A couple other things I had besides just like, interview Chris Perkins and give us like an insight into who he is as a person, or give us an interview with Jeremy Crawford, were more like some really transparent work in progress posts or behind the scenes sort of stuff. One thing I was a little weird, like they have a newsletter, right? You can sign up for the newsletter for Darrington Press, and it says, we can't wait to tell you more about our exciting upcoming products. Subscribe to the newsletter for fresh updates, behind the scenes info about the fantastic creations coming from Darrington Press. And it's like behind the scenes. But I feel like that's something you should be putting on your blog. And it's kind of like, what is the difference also between the blog and the newsletter, right? Like, what exactly are they serving that is different? Like, if the newsletter was more of a grouping of all of the latest blog posts, like, then I could kind of see why that might be something I sign up for. Just every week in my inbox, I can go read all of the last week's blog posts. But why would I sign up for a newsletter when I can just read your blog, which seems to be all product updates, right? So there needs to be some diversification between the blog and the newsletter. And a blog that is just giving product updates is kind of boring. And also, especially if it's just a product announcement, like Daggerheart is coming soon, or like our next, I think it'd be really cool if Darrington Press published a campaign setting book. I would love that if they were working on that. Give us some really cool behind the scenes work in progress posts about that. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's a terrible business practice, because then you're just like revealing to your competition what you're working on. But I think in the RPG scene, like, I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but I feel like it's a space where that sort of thing, that amount of open transparency and vulnerability in a way, would be really well received by the audience. I think that Wizards of the Coast is on the far end of the spectrum, where like they're so businessy, they're so like secretive about things, and they're manipulative with their marketing, kind of what they say and what they don't say. Like, I would love something on the opposite end of the pendulum swing, which is just like heroic in the transparent amount of information they show you. And like when they're working on a new project and they're just getting started, what does like the brainstorming whiteboard look like? What are the things they're even thinking about? What are Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford thinking about right now? That would be really, really cool. Like, even if a blog post was just a picture of a whiteboard where Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins have just been brainstorming together, and there's really no other context, that would be such a cool post. Oh my God. Like, it would just be so fun to see a little bit more about, like, how does this company work? What's on their mind? What might be coming up in the future? And also, what's fine with that is, like, it would be fun to maybe see what gets cut. What are the things they're working on that they decide, no, that's not going in the direction we want it to? And to be able to follow along in the journey of what they're making would be really, really cool. That's what I would love to see. I would really, really love that. Pedro5, what's up, Pedro? Said, besides community highlights, I think everything you said is fine. I don't know, Steel Unearthed Arcana. I think they do have an Unearthed Arcana, though. They've got, what did they call it? This is actually funny enough, this is my 6th dream. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But yeah, they've got a bunch of different sort of platforms or websites that they're using for things. And one of them is a test playing site. And they've got the Warlock. And I think it was called the Fighter, which in Daggerheart, a fighter is more of like a monk or like a martial arts sort, or a fist fighter sort of dude, I think. I don't even actually remember what it's called, so I don't know how to find it right in this moment. But yeah, something like that could be kind of cool. Hey, what's up, Doman? Good to see you in the chat. You ran a game yesterday? Did you run Daggerheart yesterday? How did it go? Hoping it was fun. Yeah, but anyways, coming back to... Sorry, got distracted saying hi to Doman. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the blog and things we would like to see on there. Other things that I think would be cool on a blog? Maybe that's pretty close to everything. But yeah, I just think a blog, like a really solid, every day there's something cool coming out of this company that keeps me coming back to the Darrington Press website to see specifically what is going on with this company and what are they working on, what are they excited about, or just what they're thinking about would be really, really awesome. I think that would be so cool, and I would love to see it. So, Doman ran 5e 2024 yesterday. Cool. I hope it went well. I've got a session of 5e 2024 tonight. It is my Martyrs of the Ark Tuesday group, so that's my like science fantasy campaign. The group is currently, they have been for a while now, been thinking about going and getting this relic called the Realm Breaker, this like ancient, basically like a nuke, a magical nuke that they need to get to destroy a demon. And to be honest, they've been dragging their feet quite a bit, despite knowing that a cult called the Cult of the Rat King has been looking for it. They know that they're also looking for the Realm Breaker. They've sort of just been like, well, we'll get there when we get there. So I'm excited tonight, if we get as far as I think we will, they're going to sort of find out like, oh shit, the Cult of the Rat King like almost has what we're trying to get. Like, so it's tonight, the goal for my session is to really remind the players like this world is alive and things are moving. Like you might be doing things in the world that aren't directly related to your main goal, but that doesn't mean there aren't other forces actively influencing and working towards the same goal. And so when they show up to try and get I call them the launch rituals, the launch ritual sequence that they need to use the Realm Breaker, the Cult of the Rat King will almost have it. So the players will be on a back foot, kind of trying to stop that from happening. So that'll be really fun for tonight. And then I've got my Wednesday and Thursday sessions too. My Thursday session is probably going to wrap up. That campaign will be done, I bet, within the next 5 sessions, if not more, or if not fewer. That group, well, I won't give you a summary of all my sessions. That's not what we're here to talk about. But yeah, I've got quite a few games going on as well. Okay, anywho, let's move on. So point number 1, or my dream number 1, was some sort of Adventures League or a Pathfinder Society, something with frequent playable content coming out from Darrington Press for Daggerheart. Dream number 2 was a character sheet manager, but that sort of evolved into, I really would just love a sort of a VTT, a really, really simple VTT from Darrington Press that incorporates fan art for monster pawns and character pawns and maps and all sorts of things like that. It's just a one-stop shop specifically to play Daggerheart VTT. I think that'd be really, really cool. And it doesn't need to be crazy complex with all of its tools and things like that. Dream number 3 was a value-packed blog, giving us work in progress, behind the scenes, real insight into the company and their consistent thoughts and things like that. Dream number 4, I want really cool guild membership perks. They have a thing on their site where you can go locate a guild store. Actually, hold on before, in case that reveals my home address for any reason. They have a thing called a guild store, basically. Or you can even click here, become a guild member. And it's like, interested in joining the Darrington Press Guild or hearing more about our support for friendly local game stores? Sign up here, indicating interest in receiving occasional emails regarding our upcoming releases and retailer support. That might not sound like something that you care about. You watching this right now, you're like, well, I don't go to my friendly local game store to play Daggerheart, so why do I care? Like, I went there to buy the rule set, but I'm not going back. Fair enough. But I feel like, and part of this comes from watching Runehammer and him build up his shop and doing all these cool events and things like that. I feel like there is a room for a renaissance when it comes to in-person D&D and friendly local game stores. And I feel like Darrington Press could really help with that. Like, friendly local game stores can be they can just be a hub for not just active game playing. Like, you don't only have to go there to play a session of Daggerheart, but if they could become more of a spot where you just go to like socialize in an environment about RPGs, like, I would love that. I feel like I'm not explaining this very well. What I'm imagining is, what if your friendly local game store that was a guild member of the Darrington Press Guild or whatever got enough support from the company of Darrington Press to put on events that weren't just come play Daggerheart? Could they could do other sort of social events? And I'm not exactly sure what those are in this moment. I'm sure we could brainstorm some cool ideas. But I feel like it's hard, like, friendly local game stores have a hard enough time getting people in the door. And if this company, Darrington Press, could really give them some cool support to get people to show up and kind of rally behind the community of RPG players, like, that'd be awesome. Just one example that's, like, I think pretty, I was going to say lame, that's not the right word for it, like, pretty basic is, actually, I'm kind of taking this from Warhammer Community, like Games Workshop. This company, once a month, I think, if you go to one of their Games Workshop stores, you can get a free miniature. And it's a really simple miniature, but still, you get a free mini that you can then take home and cut out and assemble and paint, and it can maybe be the spark that gets you to start building an army. What if Darrington Press did, even if it was just like a pin, like maybe for a year, every month they put out a different pin related to the classes of the game. And these pins are given out at event nights where it's like, it doesn't even have to be come play Daggerheart. It's like, come for a world building workshop. That's one event that month that they sort of give some prize support for. Hey, if you want to run a world building workshop or whatever workshop you decide to run at your store tonight, here's a bunch of pins that are all for the Ranger class. And you can give those out to everybody who shows up. And then next month, when everybody shows up for your, role-playing 101 workshop, here's a bunch of pins for the Wizard class, right? Like, that's a really simple one that has mileage to it because you can keep putting out cool pins. And then, boom, there you go. You're done. Or actually, here's a different idea. Just do new sets of Hope and Fear dice. All you need to do is change the color and maybe the symbol on top of the dice. And it's not a whole polyhedral set. It's just a Hope and a Fear dice. And every month, there's a new set of 2 dice that if you come to this event at the store, you get that set. And you can build your collection of Hope and Fear dice. That would be so cool. That would be awesome. Really, really fun. I would love that. But I think that, I hear this sort of idea of like, sign up to be a guild shop and get some support. But if that doesn't really go beyond just, here's our product catalog and maybe you get a little bit of a discount or whatever when you order our stuff to put in your store, then I, as the customer, don't really get any benefit or feel the benefits of my friendly local game store being a guild member. And I think that if that could be more open, more transparent, more exciting, if there was more of a like literal tangible support involved, be it pins, be it dice, be it printouts. Actually, here's another cool idea. Darrington Press, if they had, like I said when we were talking about doing a blog, they sound like a printing company. They sound like a newspaper company, like a fantasy newspaper company. What if every month there was the new Darrington Press zine or the actual newspaper, and it could just be an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and you just fold it in half, at something like this, fold it in half, and it's front cover, back cover. You open it up, and here's a little bit of community spotlights. Here's some cool stuff going on in the Darrington Press world, in the Daggerheart world. Go check out these resources. Blah 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 blah. Here's a cool live play you should go watch this month. Like, and they could send these to the stores on nice paper, or the stores could just print them out on their home printer or whatever, and just have them like at the front counter to just snag as you're walking out. That'd be so cool. That would be awesome. And it would make that store not only feel like more recognizable as a guild member, but it would also make that store feel like a place where when I go to it, I feel like I'm stepping into something bigger than myself. When I go into the store, I'm not just a customer. I guess if I go into the store as a fan of Daggerheart or as a fan of Darrington Press, I am stepping into an environment where that's clearly being fostered, and it gets me excited. It gets me amped to be in the store, and I spend more time in there instead of walk in, buy the thing I want, gone, and I'm not back for another month, right? I think that would be really, really freaking cool. Cole only throwing out an idea. What about a coffee shop store with D&D? Cool idea. I think there's at least one or two things like that in Utah where you go play your games. There's also like a little shop for food. That is well beyond sort of, I think, what a guild membership would entail. But it's a cool idea for a game store to build and foster community. Absolutely. I don't know how Darrington Press could sort of be involved in that. Conley said, every time you roll a natural 20, your card gets a punch. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, that's a cool idea. If the store becomes a guild member, then Darrington Press is putting out some sort of, poll, like a card punch thing or a bingo sheet where you either are showing up to specific events, or for every nat 20, or I guess it's not a nat 20 in Daggerheart, it's a critical success on your hope and fear die. Each one of those, like, if you get enough, then, and it punches out the card, then you get, I don't know what the prize would be. I don't know if it would really be like a discount on the shop. It would maybe be something cooler, like a set of, I don't know, minis, or maybe a dice bag from the Critical Role shop could be cool. But something like that, what I like about that idea, Cole, it's a really good idea actually, because it brings people, it's another thing that brings people into the shop and has them stay there and feel invested in, not financially. You're not there spending money necessarily. I mean, that's part of what you hopefully are doing, is you're like a customer supporting this business, but you're going there with your punch card to attend the trivia night that all of the guild related stores are hosting about the recent Critical Role. Oh my God, here's a cool idea too. I'm having so many ideas just coming to me in the middle of my conversations. All of the guild shops should be doing watch parties for the newest Critical Role episodes. Get a projector, put it up on screen, have some popcorn, people buy snacks at the game store, and everybody's there to just watch the newest episode of Critical Role. Hopefully, Campaign 4 is Daggerheart. That might be a pie in the sky dream right now. Maybe it's, I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. But like this Daggerheart Age of Umbra 8-part miniseries campaign, that would be awesome. Like, I would love to go to a game store and watch that with other people who are invested in this group of players. That would be so fun. So another reason why the guild membership should be more than just B2B, business to business, right? Like, there is room to get the customer in there and have them be part of this guild association. I think that would be so cool. You can even just call it like the Daggerheart Guild or the Darrington Guild. Oh my God. Here we go. Wasn't Darrington Press, that's like based off of Sam Riegel's character, and I think it was campaign 2. Was it campaign 2? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Or was it campaign 1? No, I think it was campaign 1. It was when Scanlon like kind of stepped away from the group for a while, and Sam played a character who was, oh my God, it's been so long since I've watched, but he was part of like the Darrington Brigade or something. That could be the name of the guild. I mean, they sort of are already pitching it as like be a guild member, but the guild itself is the Darrington Brigade. There you go. And now you're part of this like adventuring party led by Sam Riegel's former character, Darrington, whatever his name is. Like, that'd be so cool. Oh my gosh, I love that idea. Anywho, what are we thinking? What's chat got to say about that? Tessa, welcome back. Good to see you in the chat again. I'm curious how many of you guys, here, I'm going to actually end our previous poll, ask a new one. How frequently, or actually I'm going to change this question at all. Have you attended an FLG, so Friendly Local Game Store event? I'll just say this year. Well, no, maybe I'll just say, do I want to say this year or just in general? Maybe just in general. Have you ever attended an FLG event? Yes, no. So if your Friendly Local Game Store has like a painting night, do you go to that? Do you go attend that? If your Friendly Local Game Store has an Adventurers League, do you go attend that? Like, these are all things that get you in the store and stay there for a little while. Have you done something like that? Or do most of us sort of just kind of play our hobby alone in our house with, not alone, we'll play with our friends, right? But like, are we part of the bigger community of RPGs in general? Noble Knight, just while that poll's running, said, I never got into Critical Role. Do you recommend it? Yeah, of course, man. Like, it's... and this is coming from someone who didn't watch Campaign 3. But I loved Campaign 2. And I watched quite a bit of Campaign 1. And I've watched some of their one-shots and stuff. Like, I think you can get into Campaign... or you can get into Critical Role without needing to be, like, a die-hard critter. You don't have to be the biggest Critical Role fan in the world to just check it out every once in a while and take something cool from it. Even if the thing you're taking from it is just like enthusiasm. Like, you don't have to watch Matt Mercer and study him and be like, I'm going to be a GM just like him. Or you have to study the players and be like, I want to play just like Travis Willinghelm, or I want to play just like Marisha Ray. You can just watch just to have fun watching someone play D&D. And that will carry over into your own hobby. Doesn't have to be like a huge investment to be a fan of something, right? So I totally encourage you. Go check them out. I think they're great. Doman, and Noble Knight, just on the topic of getting into Critical Role, like, they have their new Age of Umbra little 8-part miniseries campaign that is using the Daggerheart rules. Go watch that. That's like, in terms of a campaign to watch, like a very small time investment compared to like, I'm going to watch all of Campaign 2. That's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of video content. Noble Knight says, I don't have an FLG near me. I bet that's probably the case for quite a few folk. And in the poll right now, I'm seeing, I'm actually a little surprised. 43% say yes, they have attended a Friendly Local Game Store event. 57% have not. That's a lot closer than I was expecting. I would have thought, I was maybe thinking 80% or more would have never attended something at an FLG. I personally have attended some stuff. I attended like a miniature paint night at Game Night Games. Which is not too far from me. And like I said, they have an Adventurers League night, but I think all the games were full when I was maybe thinking about joining. But I certainly could attend more. So many of the events, though, at my FLG are like Magic the Gathering related, which I'm like, I get it. I get why. It's super popular, but there's not a lot of events that are like for RPG folks that aren't just come and play a game. Colin Lee said, Kevin K said, I used to go to every Magic the Gathering set release for pre-releases. That was a good time. C19. I'm not sure what C19 is. Is that like one of their events or something, or like a new release of theirs? Yeah. I have been to some Magic the Gathering pre-releases. I went with a buddy of mine who was super into Magic. I personally don't really like Magic. I kind of go just to be, my friends want to do it, so I'm not going to be the poopy pants. But I go. And they've been pretty fun. Colin Lee said punch cards could go towards gift cards, prices, items, events, or food. Yeah, I think the punch card idea is fun. Especially something like really related around Daggerheart. And like, you get a punch card if you show up for their watch party. You get a punch card if you run a session of Daggerheart with your friends. You get a punch card if you... Maybe you get a punch card if you donate a set of dice to the shop that they can then give to someone who's starting up a new group or something like that. Like things on this punch card or things as part of this RPG community guild relationship can kind of foster itself. People are donating things to the guild that then are rented out or given out for free to other members who aren't as like prepared to run a session. I think that'd be really cool. G. Moore said, we have a games coffee shop here. That's where I had my bachelor party because I'm a huge nerd and I've hooked my friends to be nerd adjacent at least. Yeah, that's sweet. I love that for a bachelor party. That's awesome. My bachelor party was also very nerdy. I think I might have even run D&D for it or something. But it was a big nerdy event. Kevin K agrees. Age of Umbra is very easy to get into, in my opinion. Yeah, Noble Knight, go check that out. The first 3 episodes, I think, are already up on YouTube. Doman said, Mr. Doom, not a related question, but I just bought a 3D printer and I wanted to ask where you get your STLs for minis. Oh, that's a fair question to ask right now. I mean, it's not on topic, but I'm happy to answer it. I just have not been painting and printing minis in a while, so I've kind of unsubscribed from a few just to save the money. But honestly, I've been missing and feeling that itch to do some miniature painting. But Bastarium Miniatures, that's a really, really popular one. They put out like really grimdark, freaky minis and things. In fact, Matt Mercer used a few in the recent sessions of Age of Umbra, so you should go check them out. Also, Knucklebone Minis is so fun. A ton of my miniatures are. Do I have a one right in front? Oh yeah, here's one. Actually, two. These are both. I did a little bit of kit bashing. Hold on, let me get to a bigger screen real quick. Let's see these. So like the body of this dude with the crab claw arm and the cloak and that staff. I did a little bit of kit bashing, like a head swap, but that's a cool one from Knucklebones. This witch, she's also from Knucklebone Minis with a little bit of kit bashing. I added the helmet to the top of the staff and the bird and stuff, but Knucklebone Minis is great. And what's cool about him, he's like a one-man show, kind of a smaller dude in the scene who's getting more and more popular, but you should go check him out. And then Vevictus Miniatures, I think, is another one. They do good sets of like big thematic sets of almost like mercenary bands. They'll do like, here's a bunch of skeleton warriors, here's a bunch of zombie warriors, here's a bunch of town guard warriors, and then they'll do like 3 or 4 like unique character minis. So that's another great one too. I would say those 3, if you want like dynamic, cool looking STLs, you should go check out. But also, if you just want like bang for your buck, you should check out Bright Minis. They're on Patreon. I think it's like $1. But they put out supportless STLs, which means if you don't know how miniature printing works, I guess I don't need to go into too much detail, but just know like a lot of times STLs need something called a support. A 3D print needs a support. So it's like this lattice of really thin, hardened resin scaffolding things that kind of hold the miniature all together as it's being printed. Well, the supportless minis are just bigger, blockier, solid minis that don't have as many like free hanging parts that need to be supported. And so they're like, here's some examples actually I have. Hold on, I can show you. At one point I got super into the supportless minis. And so like all of these are, hold on, I don't want to not spill this. But these are all from Bright Minis. And you can see they're kind of like stockier, chunkier in their design, not nearly as like spindly as other miniatures you might see or as detailed, but they print quicker, and you can like print, you print this one orc skeleton, you just print 10 of those and boom, you're done. There you go. Like you never need to worry about an orc skeleton ever again. And he has like almost every type of monster you could imagine, and he's always expanding the catalog, so you should totally check that out too. Anyways, yeah, good question, Noble Knight, or I'm sorry, Doman, good question. But anyways, back on the topic of going to your FLG and attending an event and doing things like that. Let's see. Oh, Tessa, another question. Do you or are you planning on commenting on or analyzing the Age of Umbra campaign? I do think it would be fun to do a stream. Maybe next week I'll do it. Because Mother Doom, is going out of town this weekend. And to prevent myself from falling into a lonely pit of endless depression whenever my wife is gone, I think I'm going to get all caught up on Age of Umbra. And then we can do like a mid-campaign sort of check-in. And just talk about favorite characters, some of the big surprises and things like that. I'm going to make a note of that so I don't forget actually. Age of Umbra stream. I've been thinking about doing some sort of watch party for the Age of Umbra campaign, but I wasn't exactly sure how to do that, because I don't imagine I can just like stream it through my stream without getting like copyrighted or something, even though I don't monetize my streams. Like there are no ads on these. I don't think that I'm allowed to do that, but also I'm running campaigns Thursday nights that like bleed over into when the episodes start, so I'm always late to get into the newest episode, so I haven't been able to do that. Anyways, yeah, Tessa, I do plan on talking about it at some point, maybe next week. Colin Lee, here's a cool idea he had for kind of going to your FLGS. He said maybe do some sort of workshop to help with, or classes that help people with role play or help their improv. I would watch Whose Line Is It Anyways? Yeah, oh, that'd be funny if a FLGS did like a rerun of the old Whose Line Is It Anyways improv show. I barely remember a little bit about that show. I'm sure a lot of you, well, I have a pretty diverse audience. Some of you might absolutely remember that because you're old enough, and some of you might be young enough you have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's another good idea, Colin. Or like Dropout TV. Like a friendly local game store could have a TV that runs like the newest episodes from some of their improv-y shows that aren't RPG related, but show you like what fun group improv looks like. That would be a great one. Oh, Colin, another fantastic idea, dude. G. Joel Moore said, I've been going to my FLG for almost 35 years. It's the same owner. He's known me since I was a little kid. That's so cool. That's really, really cool. I wish I had one like that. I at my FLG, I know some of the people who run the front counter, and they sort of recognize me, at least enough to the point now where they don't need to like ask for my information when I check out. They sort of just can pull it up themselves. But I wish I had a closer relationship with like the people who run my FLG. I wish I knew who the owner was, actually. I have no idea who the owner is. I think I might have talked to him once or twice, but I can't remember who's like a manager and who's the owner. So certainly I have room to improve my own relationship with the FLGS. Getting caught up. Doman just clarifying the STLs to check up. So you said Bestarium minis. It's Bestarium. Bestarium, I think is how you spell it. Bestarium minis. Knucklebone minis. And it was not Fae Victus, but Vae Victus. VAE Victus. Vae Victus is what they're called. And you're very welcome to share those. I think they're awesome. All creators you should totally support. One other. Blightbones. Blightbones minis. He is on Patreon only, I think. He does not have a huge catalog. He puts out kind of like one or two cool minis a month, maybe, I think. But they are really cool. They're like, and they're not very big ones. They're kind of smaller ones. But like, here's a good example. He did this cool, big, spindly looking knight guy. I added the shield and I swapped out the mace on him. But that's a cool mini that he did that I really, really like. So if you kind of want some, maybe like your BBG minis, maybe check him out. Although he doesn't tend to do big monsters. A lot of his stuff's more humanoid. Anything else before we move on to another one of my Daggerheart or Darrington Press streams? Tessa said some sort of watch along would be cool for Age of Umber campaign or something. Would love to join in if that's available. We could do that in the Discord. Can you do watch parties in Discord? We have a Discord for the Church of Doom. I haven't touched it in forever because Discord is just not something I'm interested in managing or modding. I would much rather just be able to do it all on YouTube, on a stream, honestly. Like, to have multiple places where people have to go to tune in to watch a video thing, like, just put it in one place. Maybe I need to look up I don't know. It would be so nice if we could just watch old Critical Role streams on this channel. Like, if we could do a Campaign 2 rewatch party, that'd be so fun. But I don't know the legality of it, so we'll have to see. Okay. Let's move on, yeah? It does look like a Banana Noble Knight. That skeleton mini did look like one. Okay. So we've talked about Darrington Press Dreams, an Adventurers League, or a Pathfinder Society, something for published playable content. A character sheet manager, or a Daggerheart VTT. Really, really simple one. A blog that is a lot more frequent, a lot more value adding, more about behind the scenes, work in progress, lots of transparency with the company, cool monsters, and all that sort of stuff would be awesome. Guild membership perks. That was the most recent one we talked about. Make the Darrington Press Guild a thing that people actually care about joining and have like tangible proof that they're a member of it. Buttons, pins, dice sets, I don't know. Do like a partnership with a cool STL creator and have them make a free Darrington Press Guild member STL that they can download. That's maybe not the best idea because not everybody has access to a printer, but just an idea. So that was my fourth one. Number 5, and there are 6 on this list. Number 5 would be more tools like the card builder. So this was a cool one. Darrington Press put out very quickly after the launch of their rule set this card builder, and it's awesome. They've got all the different types of cards that you can need. So these are all like the different ancestries or the species you can do, and then you can add your own art. You can change the wording. You can change basically everything about the card that you want. And they've got card examples for all the different domain abilities that you can load up and change. They've got it for, what's the community? Oh, that's like their backgrounds, right? So Highborn, Orderborn, Wildborn. You can make your own for all this stuff. This is so cool. And I would love to see more tools like this for other areas of prep. I would love to see a Daggerheart like setting builder. Something that makes it easy for someone to come in and make their own, what do they call them? Primers, I think is what they call it. Like the Age of Umbra primer. Give us something that is formatted the same way that Daggerheart does all their other formatting, so that when I make my, the Heavenly Urchin, right? I do my homebrew setting of Urchin or the Ark. I can type it up in a way that looks the same as all of the other stuff that Darrington Press has published for Daggerheart. So it looks really succinct. Or really what this is just a template, right? I want templates for primers. I want templates for classes. I want templates. The biggest one I would want is a monster stat block template builder. Oh my God. That would, as a DM, that would be so nice, so useful, so that I can have them stored all somewhere, so that they're not necessarily like scattered in a note in my notes, right? They're not just scrawled somewhere, but instead they're clean, they're organized. I can maybe base it off an existing monster, so I don't have to rewrite everything in the card. I just change one or two abilities and boop, print it. That would be so cool. And clearly they've got if they can make something like this, they can do a card builder. This is telling me that like something like a VTT, a simple VTT, or a simple monster builder is not outside the realm of possibility. It seems clearly within their skill set. It seems doable. And the more tools like this they have, the easier they make it for DM or GMs to prep a game, the more customers they have. That's my opinion on it. Has anybody used the card builder? Oh, I am meaning to share my screen. God damn it. I'm not very good at this. This is what I was talking about. This is their card builder. Thank you, Kevin, for catching that. So these are all the different ancestries you can open up and swap things out. The different Seaborn, Loreborn, things like that communities. They've got subclasses that you can swap out, and the domains with all the different abilities you get for those domains. So something like this for monsters, and even like if they had a session prep template eventually would be kind of cool. Maybe something that borrows from the lazy GM prep, but it's just sheets you can just print to make it nice and simple to run your sessions of Daggerheart would be really, really nice. Yeah. But anyways, what was the question? Oh yeah, I wanted to know, have any of you used the card builder yet? Or actually, you know what? We're going to run a different poll. I'm curious how many have used the card builder, and if you've done it and you have feedback, leave it in the chat. What I'm more interested in is how many of you have actually played Daggerheart so far. Our previous poll, have you ever attended an FLG event? 33% yes, 67% no. Again, a little higher than I would have expected. 33% of you have gone to an FLG event. I wonder how many of those who said yes, though, was it a Magic the Gathering related event versus an RPG event. But have you played Daggerheart? Yes or no? Already 50% yes, 50% no. Already right off the bat. But while we're running that real quick, I just wanted to check out, if you go to the card, that just deletes the one I was just working on. What would be cool about the Daggerheart cards is if there was a place to see all the cards everybody has made. Not all of them, because clearly that's too much to handle. But if they had I don't know what to call it, but you've got the Drive-Thru RPG, right, website where people go and publish all of their content for a bunch of different systems. Critical Role has for so long kind of accumulated community art. I feel like they could do the same for Daggerheart creations. gather and collect some of the coolest cards that people have made, some of the coolest monsters that people have made, some of the coolest primers and settings and magic items, and put that into a navigatable archive somewhere on their website that is updated, easy to navigate, and then it's just a big free resource for all sorts of cool new homebrew that the Darrington Press team has at least taken a look at, and it maybe isn't perfectly balanced, but it's like, you're not going to find just like garbage, like broken things on there, or like silly things that are like, that make no sense or are totally like genre breaking or immersion breaking or whatever. But you can like just pull some really cool custom made cards. And I know you can kind of do that on like Reddit, right? You go into the Daggerheart Reddit and you'll see people have shared their cards and things like that. But I don't want to have to go on Reddit and skim through all the posts to find cool cards. I'd rather be able to just go onto the Darrington Press website and skim their top upvoted card selection or something. Oh, that'd be a cool way to do it. People vote like every week they put out a new batch of cards and you vote on your favorites and they take the top 10 and boom, those go up as like a printable PDF for everybody to use. That would be really, really cool and super useful. But back to the question, and in the poll right now, 25% have played Daggerheart, 75% have not. Seeing what people have seen or said, Noble Knight said, I haven't played and I didn't know the card builder was a thing, but I made a bunch of characters. It's one of my favorite parts of the hobby. Noble Knight, though, are you a player or a GM? Because if you're a GM, that would kind of surprise me. Like, I, as a GM, never make characters. I almost never even think about it. It's been really fun, though, going into this Daggerheart campaign that my dad will be running, to be thinking about building a character again. And I'm excited to get to build my Daggerheart character and do the expert, or the, what do they call them? Not skills, expertise? Whatever the like cool, like it's a keyword or it's a phrase or a slogan, whatever you kind of come up with on your own, that'll give you those +2 bonuses on your rolls. And it sort of replaces the skill system in D&D. I'm really excited to do that. That'll be a ton of fun. Tessa says, the idea I was just sharing has D&D Beyond homebrew section vibes. Yeah, do something like that. That would be awesome. Gijo Moore said, haven't played Daggerheart yet, but I got my book last week, so very soon. I'm in the same boat. I'm in that same boat. That book, reading it I felt the same way reading Daggerheart as I did reading 5e for the very first time. Like, I just was so excited about it and wanted to play it and wanted to run it. And I wish I had my book right here next to me. It's in the other room. But I've been like highlighting sections as I go through it and treating this thing like an actual tome that I don't have to take pristine condition of, and I can't write in it. Like, I want to write in this book. I want to have it feel like my wizard tome that I'm studying in preparation of building a character or running a campaign. And that's been very fun. So that's my piece of advice for you. If you take nothing else from the stream, take the advice that you should write in your rule books. You're not going to sell them one day. They're not going to make a bunch of money on eBay. They're yours. You can do whatever you want with them. And that includes writing in the margins or highlighting certain things. Do it. It's fun. Makes it feel like you're yours. You actually own this thing. It's not just a PDF that you'll never open again. Tessa said, I have played Daggerheart, but I haven't been able to order it yet because it's still sold out. I was surprised at how quickly it sold out and thrilled about that. And so I'm very glad that I got my copy. I ordered it from their website, so I got the PDF and the physical. And now I can share that PDF with my players. Shh, don't tell anyone. But yeah, seems like there's quite a few people that are waiting to get it until the restock happens, which is a good thing and a frustrating thing for those people, but still. Experiences are what they're called. Thank you, Tessa. What Tessa said, one of my players came up with the cutest frog in the forest as an experience. That's hilarious. As I would assume it's very much a charisma-based useful skill to have, or a useful experience. That's really fun. Noble Knight says, if I'm being honest, I can count the number of sessions I've actually played on one hand between all of them. I've been a player, but my time zone means that sessions usually happen like 12 p.m. for me. Oh, Noble Knight, remind me what time zone are you in? Wait, 12 p.m. Oh, so, wait, yeah, what time zone would you be in that? Most games are happening at noon. Our time? And by our time, I'm like, are you not in the States? Because also, you might want to look into maybe joining my Sunday group. I have a Sunday 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time one-shot sort of group that's using 5.5 rules right now. But I don't know. If that time zone works with you at all, maybe you'd want to jump in and play with me. Your first session would be free, too. Cole and Lee said, I asked my store if they had Daggerheart games, but they said not yet. Groups, you mean? Like join a Daggerheart group? They said they don't have anything yet, but maybe you'll have to start one yourself. Hell yeah, Cole, and you should. You absolutely should. Like, go start your own and make it happen. Be the first Daggerheart GM at your friendly local game store. That'd be really cool. And if Darrington Press had a nice established guild membership presence, then that store could have some cool resources to help you do that. But they don't have that yet. But hopefully that's something that comes up in the future. Because I'm sure that Chris Perkins, well, he's the creative director. I don't think he has no control over what happens with the guild memberships. Whoever is at Darrington Press, if you're watching this and you want my advice, make that guild membership a freaking cool thing that supports GMs coming in and running games at the friendly local game store. That would be awesome. Okay. Tessa, Gijo Moore, Colney, appreciate you in the chat. Let's move on to my last idea for things that the last thing I want from Darrington Press that, in my opinion, would make them the best publisher in the business, the company that I would want to support, I'd be excited about supporting. I kind of already touched on this, but I just want frequent, honest, transparent news and updates from the company. And that sort of goes into my number 3, which is like a value-packed blog. But this is less about like giving me all sorts of fun ideas all the time and like cool pictures and posts and things like that. And more about like, I want to feel like I am invested in the success of this company and I can follow along in that journey. And I don't necessarily have a great example of a company to point to say, ooh, you should do it like them. I unfortunately sort of am falling into the hate Wizards of the Coast Bandcamp here of like, just don't do it like them. And I think that's easy for Darrington Press to do, or at least easier than it would be for most. Like, Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro, this huge corporation, and they've got all these stockholders and or stakeholders or whatever, and they sort of have to keep things sort of secret, but they also have to publish their like earnings and stuff. Like it's all very boring stuff to kind of follow along. Darrington Press is not that. They're a much smaller company that has more freedom and choice in how much they maybe share, or how involved they keep us all in how things are going with the company. And I guess this kind of is maybe a reiteration of point 3. And like I said, when I was talking about that one, I was sort of getting ahead of myself, but I want to feel like I can trust Darrington Press to have my best interests at heart as a customer. And I don't trust Wizards of the Coast to do that. I'm not. It's the sort of thing where like I don't know what I don't know. I don't know necessarily what I need from a company to feel like I can trust them, because I've only seen bad examples. Like I can't point to a company and be like, do it like them. But I feel like Darrington Press is in a position and they have the right team sort of being built up around them and the right culture to be that company, to be the one where like I'm excited when they succeed and I am forgiving when they maybe blunder, because they've been keeping me up to date the whole time and I feel like I'm involved in the process, instead of kind of just being blindsided by something that came out of nowhere from a company like Wizards of the Coast. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But overall, I feel like my D6 list of things that would make Darrington Press one of the best publishers out there is a pretty substantial list and a pretty good one. I'll recap it one more time here at the end. But we need, from Darrington Press, some sort of Adventurers League, a Pathfinder Society, a Darrington Brigade sort of thing you can join that helps you with published content to play at least once a month. And they kind of just give you the material to play it, right? We need something like that. We need a character sheet manager or a VTT or something that is easy to use and isn't necessarily like scattered on another different website. Ooh, that also goes into my point number 6, so I'll recap that when I get there. But anyways, point number 3, we want a really good blog from Darrington Press, Make it feel like a newsletter. Make it feel like something that is published from Darrington Press itself. Like lean into the fiction and give us lots of behind the scenes, lots of work in progress, lots of playable content. Just give us cool stuff all the time, because I would love to be going and checking the Darrington Press blog every single day. I think that would be fun. We need the guild membership to actually matter through prize support, community support, event support, help. Obviously Darrington Press isn't running these events for the stores, but at the very least they could maybe send them an agenda. It's like, hey, if you can get one of your staff members or a volunteer to run our watch party of Age of Umbra, here is like a printout. Here's the agenda. You can print these out, hand them out to everybody who attends, and you just need to follow these steps and you can run a great event. I think that would be awesome. Number 5, more tools like the card builder, but for a monster builder, a session prep planner, a primer builder so you can make your own settings, maybe even like a settlement builder, I think would be great. And then the last one that we just talked about was open transparency about the business, about their projects, and it sort of feels like the blog, but the thing I want to add on to this or tack onto this point that I forgot was I want it to be central. What I found this morning as I was trying to kind of get familiar with Darrington Press was I was being sent to a lot of different sites. I went to the Darrington Press website, but then I was being sent to the Critical Role website. And then when Darrington Press and Critical Role have different blogs, and then they obviously have all their own socials that I'm going to where different things are being shared. And then I'm being sent to Demiplane Nexus to log in for a character builder for Daggerheart. It's a lot of places. Let's get it a little more focused. Like, give me just make the Darrington Press website, make it the website. Critical Role can have its own because it's such a big thing and it's a streamed campaign you're sort of following along with. But even that, like, if there was a sub website, that one makes sense. But other than that, I don't really see a reason why I need to be going to all these different places to sort of be following along when Darrington Press should be the place I go to follow along and get updates from the company and know exactly what's coming up in the future. And when I go to this blog, I shouldn't see posts that are so infrequent and are only spotlighting product. There's so many other cool things you could be keeping me in the loop about when it comes to this business and the RPG community in general that I want that one spot, like the Warhammer community page. I know when I come to the Warhammer community page, I'm going to be getting all the information I could possibly need about all the things going on in this company besides just product release. I mean, it's a lot of product release, but like they've got cool faction lore updates and they'll spotlight like art, miniature painting from other people in the community. Do that. Reach out to some of your creators in the RPG scene and ask them to contribute things to put onto the blog. Be so cool. Make this Darrington Press, make it the one-stop shop for all things RPG, not just news, but like RPG community related. That when I hear the name Darrington Press, I would love to just think like, oh yeah, that is like the best publisher. You know you're going to get lots of great, useful, valuable, exciting, inspiring information when you go to their website about be it Daggerheart or anything in general. I think would be awesome. Anywho, that's my list. That is everything that I would love to see from them. I appreciate some of the ideas we've gotten, some of the feedback from chat as well on these things. If you're watching this as the VOD, comment down below. What are some things you want to see? What are things you see in other companies that you really like that Darrington Press could do a little bit better? What are things that they do that you don't like? What's sort of frustrating you about the Daggerheart release right now? Because I'm willing to bet that the Church of Doom, just as I'm saying all of this about Darrington Press, I want it to also apply to the Church of Doom. When you hear Church of Doom, I want you to think, damn, that is the place you go when you want to get inspired about an RPG. If you want to feel the enthusiasm about being a nerd and being into the RPG hobby, that's where you go. And and that kind of starts with having an audience that is engaged in the conversation with me. So leave your comments, leave your thoughts. It all is appreciated. It all helps make this a true community, a true church, and not just me blabbering on the internet to nobody, right? But But just looking to see if there's anything else here in the chat at the end that I want to touch on before I maybe bounce. If you've got questions or just things in general you want to maybe talk about for a minute, I've got time. So drop it in the chat, and I can give you all a minute here of my time. Tessa said, imagine if there was another OGL scandal from, this time from Daggerheart. I don't think there will be. I think they're smart enough to avoid that. And you've got Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, who went through all of that with Wizards of the Coast, that can come over and sort of, again, their roles are not in the legal department. They don't necessarily have any control over that sort of stuff, but at the very least, they bring that experience and kind of can help maybe steer the ship away from those sorts of things. But I'm not too worried about an OGL scandal from something like Daggerheart, to be honest. Colin Lee said, transparency is like trying to date a comedian and thinking they're honest, but that also means wait, what? They'll have to constantly critique themselves and others, and that's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not quite picking up the point you're trying to make, Colin. You're saying if we want Darrington Press to be super transparent, it's an uphill battle because they're constantly going to have to critique themselves and others? I don't know why that would be the case. I'm not saying that I need them to be critiquing things all of the time. I just want honest updates and insights into the ongoings of this company that I support as a customer. I don't need them to be critiquing Wizards of the Coast or Cobalt Press or whoever put out Paizo. Is that who does Pathfinder? Yeah, so maybe I'm kind of missing your point, Colin, but give me a little more into that. Tessa said, have you reached out to Critical Role? I feel like you'd get along with the crew very well. Yeah, right. No. No, I have not. I imagine they've got... I don't imagine they have the time necessarily to work with little old me. But... I haven't, to answer your question. I have not reached out to them. They're in California and I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I don't really necessarily know what we would do if we got into contact with each other. Although I was jealous. There's the one dude I'm sure you guys have seen him. He's an RPG sort of creator. He just does the skits though. Oh my God, what's his name? He has like millions of views. He's like the dude who does D&D skits right now. He was the reason I'm bringing him up is he was on an episode of Critical Role. I think he was on like a one-shot episode or something. He played like a dude who had a boomerang. I won't lie, I was a little envious and jealous of that. Of like, oh man, that would be so cool to get asked to be on an episode of Critical Role. But this dude he gets so many views. I get it. I totally get it. Kenneth said, should the church offer the chat group in YouTube... Wait, what? Offer the chat group in YouTube soup? Like an old church, they offer soup. You're talking about like the sacrament? I don't know if I want to get too literal with... it'd be pretty funny. That's sort of like, hey, here's the official, I suppose, sacrament, right? We got our diet soda that we partake in each stream. But no, Kenneth, I haven't started up any traditions like that. Although, a while ago, when I first was doing my stream, we did have a fun tradition of like every time we kind of logged on and got started, everybody would drop candles in the chat, sort of signify we're beginning the sermon or whatever. That was fun. I wouldn't mind getting some rituals back and some little fun traditions with the community. That's a good idea. Noble Knight asked, what's your favorite character archetype? Favorite character archetype? I like the knight archetype, someone who is just valiant, heroic, a leader of the group. Doesn't mean they're like speaking over everybody, but they're sort of at the very least, they're like, let's get everybody in the party involved in a conversation to come up with a plan. What's the right thing to do in the moment? They're willing to sacrifice themselves. I love that trope. And I describe them as like a knight. It's really just the hero. Like a true hero trope, I think, is just fun and easy to play into and a beloved character. Yeah, that's my favorite character archetype. I don't like the. I would say my least favorite is not going to be a surprise. It's probably the same for all of us. But like the edgy loner, and like edgy characters is sort of a just a big joke across RPGs right now. Like everyone knows what you're talking about. Like when you're the edgy character, I actually don't mind edginess. My biggest pet peeve though, when you bring a character, is someone who has no reason to be with the team. The lone wolf is just like it just won't work. You can play that character for maybe a session or two, but then it's gonna run thin, and there'll be no bonds holding you with everybody, and all the other players will be like, just get this person out of here. Like, I don't understand why they're here. So, all right. Humble Gallipot said they joined the Darrington Press team. I have the stream playing in the background and thought you were saying Chris Perkins by mistake. Nope, that's what I said. Yeah, Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford. That's the big news. I think it dropped yesterday or the day before, and I've been seeing a bunch of people talking about it and stuff, so I want to jump on here and talk about it as well. And also, Humble Galpot, thank you for having the stream playing on in the background. Appreciate it. I'm sort of envisioning the church, like when I think about what's my calling right now, I am weirdly being pulled in the direction of like morning radio talk show host sort of vibes of like when you're at work or you're getting ready in the morning or whatever you kind of got going on at this time of day, you tune into the Church of Doom to just hear what I have to say about what's going on in the RPG hobby. I like this. It's fun. I have a good time doing this. And to be honest, I'm like, the morning ritual blog posts that I do, like I put a lot of work into them, but I don't feel like a lot of people see them. And I don't necessarily feel like a lot of people if like not a lot of people are seeing them, then I'm not convinced a lot of people are getting value out of it. So I'm like, okay, am I putting too much effort into trying to like stay on top of publishing a written blog every day? And again, I'm a one-person team. So there's only so much I can do in a day. But I'm like, maybe more people get value out of this and have more fun with something like this. Would I rather jump on stream for an hour or two every day and talk about the RPG hobby with folks in real time? Or would I rather spend that same amount of time writing a post that people might not really see and engage with a lot? I'm kind of feeling more like this, right? So that's kind of my current vision for the church. Got to hone in on that a little bit more and kind of really get something solid, but we'll see. We'll see. What else we got going on? Oh, Tessa, you humble me. You said, I said my little old me, the Church of Doom, little old me. Said you got less reach, but your ideas and content are amazing. I appreciate that, Tessa. That's always been my North Star. Is no matter what, if it's a blog or if I'm on a YouTube stream or a video, whatever, it's like, am I sharing a cool idea? That has always been my number one priority. Just, is the idea I have original and cool and applicable to the hobby? And so far, I feel like I've had a pretty good track record with that. I think it's just a matter of finding out the best way to present all of my ideas to everybody. And as I'm saying this all out, I'm like, yeah, maybe I just need to double down on the morning RPG talk show sort of vibe. I think that could be really, really cool. Zach the Bold, that's who I was thinking of. Thank you, Tessa. Yeah, Zach the Bold, who does a bunch of the skits and stuff. Which that is my grumpy RPG opinion. I'm like, I just don't like that sort of content. I just find it like cringy. Clearly I'm in the minority because he gets millions of views. I'm always getting sent his like little videos in my various campaign group chats on Discord of like, have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? I get why people enjoy them, especially like he seems to have so many players who watch his stuff because his skits are all about the player experience. But if I can put on my grumpy RPG old man hat, it's like, what I don't like about it is it turns so much of the hobby into a joke. Like every experience is sort of played up in a comical way of like the problem player, the railroady GM, the combat. I don't know. For me though, I just kind of watch him. I'm like, I wish it didn't make the hobby feel like such a joke all the time. But that's just me. and you can throw tomatoes, boo this man. I totally get it. But that's just my opinion, dude. Let's see. Tessa said they've seen other creators have spoken with Matt about Daggerheart. I'd see you doing that. Yeah, I think interviewing could be really fun, actually. I not to toot my own horn, but I think I could be pretty good at that. I think I'm pretty good at having like engaging conversations, asking unique questions, thinking about things in sort of a different way. If I could get another voice on here every once in a while and like kind of pick their brain for their thoughts and their ideas, yeah, that could be really, really cool. I gotta just do it. Who knows? Maybe if I reached out to someone on their team, even if it wasn't obviously Matt, like talking to just somebody on the Darrington Press team could be really cool. Anybody. It would be awesome. What else? Anything else before I bounce? G. Moore looks like he's got a bounce. Keep enjoying the TTRPGs. Amen to that, dude. Yeah, Doman, he said, you are the sci-fi fantasy TTRPG YouTuber. Yeah, and I think, like, right now I just have so many science fantasy ideas sort of being mashed together in my campaigns that I talk about it a lot. But I don't necessarily want that to be my, like, legacy. I'm less interested in being the science fantasy dungeon tuber and more interested in being the, like, I sort of say it at the beginning of some of my streams of like, I'm your RPG prophet. I think that's sort of my dream. My vision is to be a voice of enthusiasm and excitement within the hobby that is always opening minds to like new ways to do things, new things to try. And part of that right now is science fantasy, or like injecting science fiction into your fantasy. I talk about that a lot. But a year from now, who knows what I'll be like super passionate about and what I sort of bring to the church's audience. We'll see. I have no idea. But I'm glad, at least, Doman, that you've sort of picked up on that and can recognize that that's the thing I'm really excited about right now. Let's see. Humble Gallipot agreed on my old man critique of... I also, like, I'm like, oh, does it make me look bad? I feel like I'm throwing Zach the Bold under the bus of like, I don't like him. And it's not that I don't dislike him. I'm sure he's great. It's just not my type of content. And I'm glad at least one person agrees with me in the chat. But all the other millions of people who want to keep watching Zach the Bold, go for it. Keep doing it. And watch whatever you want to watch. I don't care. Kevin K asked, when is the physical Kickstarter launching for the Retrotropic zine? Great question. It is on July 7th, the first Monday of July. That's where you're going to get your physical copy of the Retrotropics. You get this cool zine. I'm really excited. The link is pinned in the chat. It's at the top of the description of this video. Should we do a quick refresh to see how many folks are following along? Shall we? Have we gained any new ones? Oops. 21. That's fine. People will watch the VOD. We'll get another follower in the future. It's all good. And like the followers is just people who are going to be notified when it goes live. So the more people who follow it, the better. But really, like when the project launches is when I'll be putting out ads and stuff and trying to get those numbers up. So we've still got time. Doesn't launch for another like almost, I think it's three weeks out. 2 weeks. I think it's 3. But we're getting close for sure. And the book's done. The book is in a state where it could just go out as is. I'm sure I'll have some stretch goals on there to add a couple additional random tables and things like that to it. But nothing crazy. Like, I just want to get this in people's hands as quickly as possible. So, yeah, Kevin K., I appreciate you marking that down. Yeah, if you haven't followed it, I would greatly appreciate it if you did. And it looks like I'm all caught up on chat. We've been going for an hour and 40, so almost 2 hours here. I think that's where we're going to call it for today's RPG sermon. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for contributing. It was fun to talk about. This is a topic that is not, like, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? How can Darrington Press be the coolest publishing business in the RPG scene? But it interests me. And I think it's an important conversation to have, and I look forward to seeing the other big things coming from Darrington Press moving forward. But with that all being said, we say these things in your unholy names. Amen. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good week. I will see you again.